Hello, my name is Brad Bodnerchuk, and welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, where we discuss everything hospitality, from the food on the plate to the teams that make it happen and the community that drives this industry forward. On this podcast, we sit down and chat with some of the most exciting, inspiring, and innovative minds that make up one of the most dynamic industries that there is today. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than Devon Dooling and her beautiful mom, Allison. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
This is a first for me and for us on the show to have a mother-daughter duo. I know the reason we're here really is to fly the flag of what Devon is doing in her business, but it just so happens that we have this gift of Allison being in town today, and Devon said, "Hey, what are your thoughts of mom coming by?" And I was like, absolutely. I'm a big fan of moms. I love my mom. Hey, mom. Shout out, mom. She listens to all my episodes. So it's so nice to have you here today.
We all need moms.
We definitely all need moms. So the first question that I generally lead off this podcast with is the how, the what, the where, the when, the why.
All the things.
You in this industry. So I know you and I chatted briefly on the phone before we met today.
Yep.
Kind of about your journey into this business. But fill me in again and the listeners of how you find yourself today, the owner and operator of On the Rocks and in this space, being in this hospitality space.
Yeah, for sure. I sort of stumbled into this, I guess. So a little bit, I'm Devon. Hey, nice to meet you. I have a background in business. I have a business degree specializing in marketing communications. So that's kind of always what I thought I would be doing with my life, and was what I was doing. I worked, I'm from Victoria originally and moved over to Vancouver and kind of struggled to find a job here initially. It's a tricky market, Vancouver. Everybody's over here looking for the same kind of jobs, and it's challenging to get into that. And, found some things that weren't so great and then moved into things that were great, and then kind of shuffled back into something that I thought was going to be my sort of dream job, and had an amazing opportunity and had a pay increase and, had a title increase. And I was so excited about it. And I went to work, and 7 days later, they came and said, "You're fired." And I want to throw up because I've never had anybody say anything negative about me. I've never been let go or fired or disciplined or anything, let alone not having one job to go to from the next. So I basically am sitting there thinking, well, what am I going to do now? I've got to start all over again after just having got this job. Mm-hmm. And this opportunity sort of came about at that point where my mom's partner, he also owns an ice company on the island in Victoria, an ice and water company called Simply Pure. And he basically had started or helped start On the Rocks Ice over here in Vancouver. And the initial two women who started the company, they were at a point that they just weren't interested in doing it anymore. One of them had already left and moved on to something else. And the girl who was left behind, Danielle, she was kind of ready to move on to bigger and better things. And she actually ended up getting pregnant and having twins pretty quickly. And so she was ready to get out of there, get rid of the ice business. And I had nothing better to do. And I thought, okay, maybe this is the time to sort of jump in with 2 feet and do something totally different and try being an entrepreneur. And we sort of shuffled things around, and I had some help from my mom, and I had some help from my mom's partner, and we sort of figured out how we could make it work, and I bought an ice business. So it was very, I don't know, it just sort of flowed. The timing was right. It just sort of happened.
But it was scary.
Yeah, it was definitely
it was a big jump for her.
It was a totally big jump. I mean, I didn't know anything about ice coming into this. People still say to me, do you have some sort of weird passion for ice? And I'm like, no, it's water, it's frozen water. I mean, we all need water, and we all usually like ice in our drinks. Yeah. And that's about the, most passion I have for it. But it just was really about being able to work on my own really appealed to me, and the timing and not having anything kind of lined up scared the heck out of me. And it was like, well, what is, why not? What's stopping me from just trying it out? And yeah, so that's now, I think I just finished our third season. So our third summer, which is our busy season. And then this is going into my fourth year of owning the company. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mom, I feel like you wanted to interject there.
Well,
again.
I was just going to say that, I think in the beginning it was just something you'd never thought about. But once you got into it, the reason that it was a good fit for you was that you're super organized, right?
Yeah.
And also you really like connecting with people. So
yeah. And I mean, Brad, we talk about that, this is a very hospitality sort of based podcast. Well, in Victoria, I worked for one of the biggest bars in the city. I worked for the Sticky Wicket Strathcona Hotel, right? So you're shaking your head, you know who they are. So I worked for those guys for years and years and years. And then I worked for Milestones over in Victoria on Wharf Street, which is this, huge sort of tourist location, busy all the time. So I worked for them for years. So I had been in the hospitality industry for, a significant period of time as well, playing, all those roles, bartender, server, manager, everything, right? So I had familiarity with the industry, and to move into something like this, which services the industry, wasn't a huge leap of understanding, but I didn't know anything about ice. I didn't know anything about the production. I, had to learn all that stuff, had to learn how to go and do my own finances, which I still am trying to figure out. And it's a huge learning curve.
Can I ask, you mentioned something that really resonated with me, because I chased this on the daily, and for me it's super important. It may not be important for you, but it may not be important for others, but for me it is. You mentioned that you're not super passionate, quote unquote, about ice. Like, you don't wake up every day and you're like, oh, I love ice.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, one, you being real about that, because I love that authenticity. But two, then why do you do what you do? What gets you up out of bed in the morning? And what about your business, your quote unquote job excites you? Like, why are you doing it?
Yeah. So, that is the simple truth. Ice is frozen water. It doesn't hold a significant place in my heart, but what has, I guess, developed in my heart and in my, passion for this business is the people that I get to work with, and doing the job that makes those people happy and that brings, cohesion, and, that I'm able to solve problems for people. Like, those are the things that I really like in general.
People know that they can count on you.
Yeah, and that's totally true. One of the things that I like to think that sets us apart from some of the other companies here in Vancouver, because there are several ice companies here, and it is a pretty, cutthroat little market. But I always say we, because I feel like I should when I'm talking about this company, but really it's me. I try so hard to be there for my customers all the time. People call me, the day before something, and in a lot of cases, people can't get a product that quickly to somebody, let alone when it's hundreds of pounds of ice, or something that might not fit in the truck that I have, but we have to put in a different truck. And I just feel like I try really hard to bend over backwards as much as I can to make things work for people. And so those are the things that I think I have passion about. And those are the things that drive me to do better and to get up in the morning. And it's kind of like, well, what's going to be on the agenda today, and who's going to need ice, or, what problem am I going to solve today? And so those are the things that make me excited. And having those relationships with people, like, I've met so many really cool people from being in this industry, and being able to connect with them and see what they're up to. And, we show up at an event, and it might be that I'm working for one client, but then I show up at this event and there's a collaboration of clients there, and I'm all of a sudden going, oh, hey, like, nice to see you and you and you, and it's nice to have those relationships and those connections. And I feel really fortunate that a lot of the people we work with are repeat clients, and we've been able to work with them year after year after year. And it's really nice to see the progression and see how things have changed for them and for us between each year and each season. And yeah.
That's amazing. It's so cool that you're able to pull so much out of it being such a, like you said, such a simple product.
Yeah.
But obviously you're doing more than just providing ice. It's the service you provide. It's again, like you said, bending over backwards for your clients. For people that are listening that may be like, hey, it's Devon, I know her, we use On the Rocks, we love On the Rocks. But if there's people that aren't listening and they're like, oh, maybe she could be our new ice girl.
Yeah.
So who is, quote unquote, your ideal client? Who is your ideal customer for On the Rocks?
Yeah. So, I mean, we do a few different things for the company. So we retail our ice. So if you're interested in bringing in 6-pound bags of ice for your customers to take camping or to bring home for their Christmas party or whatever, that's something we can do. And we retail to quite a few stores in town right now, Whole Foods and Urban Fare and T&T grocery stores, and then a bunch of other people as well. So if you're interested in something like that, that's something you can give us a shout about and we can have a conversation about that. And then we also do lots of the events in town. So we've been really fortunate to have so many of these events that we work with, and a lot of them we work with year after year, and it's so great to see them and see what they're doing the next year and how they're changing their events and how their events are growing. And those are the people that I find that, it's so fun to work with the events because that appeals to my personality because I did the hospitality thing. I also used to work for TED conferences. So
cool.
I helped put on TED here in 2014. So I love that side of things where I get to show up at an event and I might just be dropping off ice, but I'm like, oh, look at what they've done here and here and here, and it gets my brain spinning, and I find that stuff really interesting. So, we get to work with all those types of people, and those are great because it's usually a lot of ice up front, and it's usually one delivery, and it's quick and it's easy. And so those types of things are fantastic. So yeah, if anyone's hosting an event, size doesn't matter. If you're having, a wedding of 200 people, we can help you. If you're, having a private client party of, 50 people, we can help you with that. If you're hosting a music festival, we can do that too. So there isn't really an ideal client. We love everybody, and I want to help as many people as I can with our ice, if possible. So
let's talk a bit about emotions. I feel like on this show, a lot of times I sit down with people like yourself who have a small business or a large business, and I'm always intrigued to see how you react to certain situations. So say, for example, I'll have a chef on the show and I'll ask the chef, him or her, I'll ask, like, when you watch your plate that you just created get dropped off at a table and you watch your guest take a bite, like, what do you feel?
Yeah.
Like, what emotions do you have? So just the other night, I was at an event downtown and someone needed ice. And this is 100% the truth.
Okay.
And they walked, so they left, they came back through the door and they had a bag of On the Rocks ice. And I was just like, amazing. Like, I'm going to sit down with Devon from On the Rocks.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I
So it
love
was great. So I took pride in that because I was excited about getting to meet you in person and having you on the show and forming a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just me. So for you, when you're out at Whole Foods or you're at an event and maybe someone doesn't know that you even work for On the Rocks, or maybe you didn't even know that they were going to have your product there. What is actually like viscerally happening to you when you see your brand and people consuming your product?
Yeah, there's definitely pride there. I definitely get excited and I have that sort of swelling of like, oh, that's me and mine. And look at that. That's so fantastic. And, for things like these events that we do, I mean, we just drove past an event the other night with my mom and she was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, we're doing that event. And she's like, oh, that's so great. And so it's really nice to be able to say like, oh, we're doing that. And or my husband will talk about, events at home and he'll be like, have you heard of? And I'll be like, oh yeah, we already do that. And so it's nice to be able to, I don't know, it's maybe a bit boastful or just celebrating the success, exactly. I guess. And
yeah, you've had a great year. I mean, you've really, you've done so well this year.
And year after year, it just keeps getting better. It's such a learning curve, but this year I'm especially proud of myself. Like, we've doubled our sales from last year. So that was a huge thing. And I still don't think I've really it's really clicked in my brain, or I've really celebrated that fact because
You're
I've been
tired.
so busy with everything else and I'm tired. And
Yeah.
Tired, and she just moved.
Yeah, I was
house
gonna say,
too.
didn't you
She
just move?
moved
yeah,
house
and I
Yeah.
just moved.
single-handedly almost. So.
And it's about to be Christmas, and like there's
Yeah.
so many things going on. So I haven't had the, time to sit and really think about the success, but
It's been good.
yeah, I do have those emotions for sure. I mean, and being out at restaurants, I mean, we're always doing silliness, and mostly my husband, I will say, does silly things where he'll, be staring at someone bartender making a drink, and they've got those specialty cubes, the big 2-inch cubes or the round spheres, and he'll all of a sudden say, hey man, like, where'd you get that ice? And they usually now say, well, we make it ourselves because, that's putting me out of business, those
Yeah.
molds, whoever came up with those. But we make those as well. So we do a lot of those things for large, like, client events.
Right.
But he always is asking people, where did you make those yourself?
he's
And
your
kind of
marketing
a little
team.
shady eye, side eye at them. And I'm always laughing. And then we say like, oh, I own an ice company. And people are always like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And it sparks conversation, but there's definitely pride in, some of those events where I'm looking at people send me pictures back, or I'm, looking at their Instagram after we've dropped them, stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, wow, those drinks look beautiful. And I'm so fortunate to be a part of that. And I'm so glad that what I'm able to provide is helping people. It, might not always be seen. It's this kind of back end, underlying thing that nobody really thinks about. But if you think about, at any event, for the most part, you're probably drinking a beer or a glass of wine, or you're having a cocktail, whether you're going to a Christmas party or a birthday, or you're camping, or you're going to a festival in town, or you're going to the bar for dinner. I mean, think about it. Your drink is cold because it's probably been on ice, or you have a cocktail because there's ice in it. In some way, shape, or form, what you're drinking is being affected by ice in most cases. So it does sort of,
As Glenn used to say, my partner who has the Simply Pure, it's a forgotten food, right?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, as you guys were speaking, it really resonated with me that ice is, and this is in no sarcastic way at all. Ice is, like you said, the forgotten food. It is overlooked, but it's almost. So I do restaurant consulting, and I'm really, really like hyper focused on the details. Like when I walk into a space, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? All those things.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that the general population maybe doesn't consider, or consciously they're not even thinking about. So when I have a glass of kombucha at home, I might not consciously be thinking about the ice in it, but the ice, like you said, is such an integral part of it being a cold glass of kombucha. Do you know what I mean? So when you're
It's
having a
true.
cocktail, so it's again, not to make light of it, because not at all, but it's such an important part for so many of these events that we go to, whether they're concert series or like you're mentioning, like weddings or birthdays. Like people don't think about it maybe.
no.
But it is such a important thing, because I mean, who wants to serve warm beer? Or
That's
warm-
right.
And another thing is, do they think about the quality of the ice too?
Oh,
Like,
totally.
everybody thinks about the water they're drinking and what goes into their bodies, and if it's pH balanced, et cetera, et cetera. But do they know what's in their ice cube?
Totally. Let's talk about that a bit. Then let's talk about, because I was really intrigued as far as like a consumer, because I consume ice, but I don't know, like, why would I buy On the Rocks and not buy? Quite honestly, I don't know any other brands, to be honest. So sorry, other brands, but you're not going to get a shout out today because I don't know who you are. But how do you differentiate yourself? Let's talk just raw product, because we've already discussed about how you're willing and able to go above and beyond for people and kind of turn around orders in an insanely rapid amount of time.
Yeah.
But can we talk about like what is unique about your product, if there is anything unique? about the
Yeah,
product?
I mean, we all have to go through the same, health and safety measures and standards. So, I mean, as far as the water and the process that it's going through, I mean, those are kind of similar across the board. So there's not a lot of difference in terms of that. Water might range a little bit in terms of which city or location or wherever it's being processed. So that's a little bit different between brands. But for us, I mean, our cubes are a little bit smaller as well. So that's something that we've, purposefully done because we find that that makes it a little bit easier for blending for things like making margaritas and smoothies and things like that. Just chunks up a little bit easier. And then also, for like glassware and things like that, a lot of the other ones are a little bit bigger. It just makes it harder for smaller glasses and things like that. So sizing is a little bit different. And I mean, it is going to be quite similar. We have to go through the same, process. We have to keep it chilled to a certain temperature in order to keep it, safe and obviously not melting before it's being transported anywhere. And same thing when it's being transported. So, I mean, really the thing that sets us apart, I think, is our branding, our messaging, and our services. Our branding's a lot different than anybody else's that's out here. If you haven't seen our bag, it's basically it's just a blue and clear bag, and it's got our branding. It says On the Rocks Ice, and it's just very simple and clean, and there aren't any logos. There's no animals on the bags. It is what it is. It's just a bag, but it looks really nice if you're leaving it out, which is one of the things that we, I think, worked really hard, and Danielle and Jennifer, the previous owners, worked really hard on when they were developing the marketing and branding, because we do find that a lot of the people that buy our ice are maybe, people that are having a really nice dinner party, or maybe have a little bit higher of an income and don't mind spending a little bit more on a product. And it's something that can sit out in someone's house and stacked up nicely, and it doesn't, I don't really think it's not an eyesore,
No,
if
it definitely is a premium
sitting there.
brand.
Yeah. So, and we do things like our plastic is maybe a little bit thicker, and we use different colors for our branding and our bags and things like that. And so those are the things I think that sort of set us apart bag wise and ice wise. And our bags are different sizes too. We have a 6-pound bag and a 20-pound bag. Most places are around a 6 or just under 6, and then it's usually a 26-pound bag. Okay. So we've gone for a slightly different bag size because I think we just felt that the 20-pound bag wasn't an exorbitant amount, especially if you're doing something like having a dinner party and you don't want to go to the gas station and buy 20 small 6-pound bags. You can come and buy, 5 or 10 of our 20-pound bags versus, a 26-pound bag, which gets a little bit harder to carry. It's a little bit more awkward. The 20-pound bags are like a nice, manageable size. So those are kind of the biggest things with the actual product itself. And then the rest of it is really, again, same thing, our customer service, being there. I answer my phone at like ridiculous hours, and people are always like, oh, we didn't think you'd answer. And I'm like, well, you're calling, so I feel like I should.
Right.
So yeah, it goes back to that, the ability to just sort of help people as often as I can. And I have people that will call us and, want some ice, like in an hour, and say, well, can I get something? Like, I only need a couple bags, and most companies have minimums for delivery, and we generally do too. But I've sort of, the longer I've kind of been in this, the more relaxed I've sort of become about that. And often I'll invite people to come over to, our house, and I've got a giant freezer there. And, if it's a friend or, someone I know really well, and just say like, come and just grab a bag, like cool. No charge, you can have it kind of thing. And so when I can do that as much as I can, I will. And then the other thing, it's not specific to the product itself, but we try to give our clients a lot of discounts as often as we can. So, it's crazy. When I go and look at my books at the end of the year and I look at how many discounts I've given people, it's a bit terrifying, to be honest with you. And I sit there and go like, gulp, like, look at all that money that, is going out the door. But it's going out the door because people are buying, big quantities from us, and, you have to be competitive with your pricing. And also, I think that because we've had clients for, several years, and they've stayed with us, and they've been loyal to us and loyal to this brand, and they have always been great customers, that they deserve to get something back from us. And that means that we, can give them a little bit of a discount here and there. Then that's how we do things. So
Yeah, get a nice like client retention that way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's also going to be a slippery slope. I know with myself and my consulting is like you want to represent value,
Yeah.
right? So if you had a restaurant and you're like, hey, I want to hire you as a consultant, and I was like, yeah, it's $500 for a month of work. You'd be like, why is it only $500?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I'd rather shock you with a price, and then if you don't agree with it, then maybe we can like negotiate. Oh, what do you feel like it's worth?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like you have to be very aware of when and how you're giving out those discounts and who you're giving them to, and making sure that they are granted, and those people are really valued, and hopefully they really appreciate.
Yeah, and I think they definitely do, and it is one of those tricky things, and it's still something I'm learning, you know. And my mom's partner Glenn is saying you have to know your books better and you have to know your finances better, and he's sort of drilling that into my head, and I'm trying, and math is not my strong suit, and you know, I'm getting there, and day by day it's like you can, you know, focus on something else and you can tweak some other number and you can sort of see how everything lines up. So it's just about understanding it. And yeah, I mean, and then things are constantly changing around us too, right? Like the next minute gas is up. So then you're like, well, can I give a discount because I've had to spend way more money in gas, or the cost of, you know, like something else goes up, like our plastic bags, or, you know, production costs go up, or there's all these things changing, right? And so you constantly have to sort of be, you know, seeing what your numbers are and figuring out whether you can give those discounts or not. But we always want to try as often as we can to, you know, accommodate our clients and give them a good deal and make sure that we're retaining our relationships, and that, you know, people don't feel like we're giving them a discount one year and then jacking things up the next year. Like for the most part, we just try to keep it even across the board and make everybody happy.
So if you're listening and you want a discount, just be prepared to order an absolute ton of ice.
Yes.
And consistently. And then Devon will help you out, and then she'll stress about her books after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we turn the mics on, we talked a bit about your mom, and I wanted to bring her in on this one in regards to sitting here and listening to your daughter speak so eloquently and so well about what it is she does in her company. Can we talk first about pride? I'd love to get inside your head. Like, what does it sound like hearing your daughter? Because now I have a daughter, and she obviously isn't speaking yet or running her own business yet. But I can only imagine like the affection I have for her, to see her kind of doing what Devon is doing. What is that like for you as a mom to witness your daughter here running a business, a successful business, and flying the flag, being an entrepreneur in the city?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of her. I'm mostly proud of her just for even attempting to do this. You know, it was really out of her comfort zone in the beginning. And I remember sitting around a table out at a restaurant, and she was almost in tears trying to figure out how she was going to do this, and the money involved. And, you know, it was scary. Yeah. But we just kept pushing her gently and just showing her the facts, and said, like, what have you got to lose? You know? Yeah. So I think Devon's an only child, so she's my only babe, and I've had my own business for 30 years
which is what, sorry?
Window display and in-store merchandising.
Okay.
And a lot of decorating. So I had about 40 windows I did all over Victoria and Sydney area.
Cool.
So it was a full-time job. So at one point in my life, I was a single parent with Devon, and so she had to help out a lot, and I would be making all my props and backdrops in the evening, and expecting her to help and make dinner and do all that sort of thing. And then when she was available and I was really busy, when she wasn't at school or whatever, when she was really little, weekends and stuff, she would come with me, and she'd be in the window handing me pins as I was dressing mannequins and looking terribly bored.
Yeah, the last thing she wants to be doing.
Oh, yes. And I used to say to her things like, you know, maybe one day you'd want to have your own business and do this. She'd go, no way, Mom, I don't want to do that. You work way too hard, you know. But, you know, as she grew up and stuff, I could see that when she started working and she finished her degree and her schooling, I thought, I can just see her running her own business one day. She, you know, always saw a better way of doing something and didn't feel like she was being heard in her job space. And
Also known as I don't like to follow directions from
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah, shout out. I hear that. I hear
and
that.
maybe I'm a little bit the same way, so I could see myself there, right? So yeah, I kind of thought, yeah, I can see that down the road, and being highly organized and liking things in their place, and that's a big one, right? Being a people person, so I'm thinking that this could be a good thing for her to branch out and maybe get her own thing going on there. So when the ice business came up for conversation, as my partner's friends of theirs, and but Danielle was the daughter of their friends of my partner,
Okay.
Glenn's. So they were saying she was not interested in continuing and was getting married and wanted to have babies and wanted to go in a different direction. We said to Devon, maybe this is an opportunity for you to look at this now. And, things happen for a reason, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and I strongly believe that, and I think you just have to go for it, right? I said, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We looked at it all and said, okay, so worst case scenario, like you buy
Yeah,
the
exactly.
business and a year down the road you don't want to be doing it anymore. Well, you sell it off your assets,
Yeah.
and you'll still do okay, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on to something else. But as it turned out, she is getting better and better every year, and I think she's really getting to a point where she really enjoys it now, and she loves watching the growth and
Yeah, growth is
meeting,
awesome.
and of course the people. Like, she gets out there and she loves meeting the people and helping the people. So yeah, I think it's been great. So we're looking forward and wondering now, where is she going? Or it's really cool that she got into the magazine article Where Women Create Work.
Yes.
Which
And
is
the magazine was called
Where Women
It's
Create.
We're Gonna Create. And
Work.
the article was titled
Like Cool, Clean Confidence, I think.
Nice.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
I like
Yeah,
it.
it's a great magazine, and I've been getting it for years. And this woman, it's out of the States, and she does about 4 or 5 magazines. Really neat, wonderful books. You have to get them at specialty bookstores, I guess.
I think you can get them at like Chapters,
Okay.
Yeah.
Indigo, that sort of thing. But
But
yeah.
really great. So I started reading the one Where Women Create, and it was all about your studios. It was a lot of creative
Artist
students,
spaces
Right.
artist
and-
spaces, because that's what I do. And then it branched out, and I said to Devon, "Hey, why don't you just send them a little note or give them a call and see if maybe you could be in this magazine?" So she did, and they said, "Yeah, we like what you have to say, and
So cool.
we think, what the heck?" So I think that kind of made her go, "Holy smokes!" And like I always say to young people out there, it's amazing what you get when you ask for it.
Yeah.
You have to have the guts to go out there and ask for it, right? You have to get rid of that feeling of, oh, no one's going to like me, or they're not, all that negativity sitting on one shoulder, and pick up the little guy on the other shoulder that says, guess what? There's a whole big world out there that you can open up to, and you'll be amazed when you open up to people and they meet you what you can do. What you ask for, you can have a lot of times.
I feel like Mom should have a podcast.
I guess life lessons with
Yeah.
Allison.
No, but I think you're
Oh, yeah.
It's just it's as simple as ice, but also
Yeah.
difficult sometimes, right?
Oh,
It's just
sure.
it's getting over that initial fear
Yeah.
to put yourself out there, and you're concerned about how you're going to get. I own an ice company. Like, no one wants to listen, but it's cool. Like, people are going to tune into this show, like males and females, and be like, that is a really cool story.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have the opportunity to even digest that if you didn't get out of your own way and say, I'm going to go into a podcast, I'm going to talk about my business, and I'm going to own it and just represent who I am. And be authentic. Like, say, hey, I don't love ice, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
I just think that resonates with so many people, myself included.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more excited about your brand now, having met you for the last 33 minutes or so. So very, very cool. One thing I wanted to touch on as well, I think is so important to give context to our listeners, because so many of our listeners are in this space, whether they're head chefs or restaurateurs, entrepreneurs. You mentioned that you haven't really had an opportunity to sit back and take in this growth that you've experienced and really look at it and kind of celebrate it, if you will. So what is your unique to you, Devon? What is your recharge formula? Like, what does that look like for you to sit down, or maybe you don't sit down, maybe you go for a run, or maybe
Yep.
you go on a vacation? Like, how do you yourself, unique to you, recharge and move forward to what will be another big year next year.
Yeah, and I'm honestly like, I can't wait. I had a bit of a cry yesterday because I was feeling super overwhelmed and tired. And like we mentioned, I mean, I'm so thankful for this business too, because it's given me a lot of flexibility in my life, which is amazing for not just me, but for my family. I've got a husband and 2 stepkids, and I've got a dog. So it's, life is busy. With or without the ice company, and then add in the ice company and the things that your kids are off doing and you're picking them up to and driving them off to, and the dog and just everything else, getting your own time in there is hard. And I think moms, I'm not a mom, but I'm a sort of mom.
You're a mom.
I think moms probably all feel that way, that it's hard to find mom time to just chill by yourself or go to the gym or whatever. But I am so grateful because this business has allowed me to have that time. And my hours are totally flexible, and they're not always the same every day. So for me, it totally varies. I mean, I haven't been going to the gym lately because we've been moving. So I've been packing for weeks and unpacking for weeks.
That's a workout in
and
itself.
That is a workout. We were looking at our steps, we had like 25,000 steps in a day.
Except then we blow it all by having the rum and eggnog, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
A
tis the
gazillion
season.
calories
Tis the
in one
season.
drink.
Only one.
Right.
But yeah, I think for me, like I love being outside. If I could be outdoors all the time, that would be, I think, my favorite thing in the world. I mean, I don't love the rain of Vancouver, I have to say, and it rains more in Vancouver than it does in Victoria.
Fact.
It is a
it's
fact.
true.
People don't know this, and people think it's a lie, but it is a
No,
fact.
it really
So are
is
you saying?
true.
Are you telling us you're leaving and going back
No.
to Victoria? Oh, okay.
I'm not leaving, but
Okay.
it definitely rains more here, and that drives me insane. But I just love going out and being in the forest, going for walks with a dog at UBC in the endowment lands. Like, I love that. Or going for a walk along the beach. I take her out to the dog park out by Iona, and she just whips up and down the beach, and it just cracks me up, and that makes me
what's
so
your dog's
happy.
name?
Her name's Molly.
Shout out Molly.
Hey,
Does she-
Molly!
yeah, Molly, you listening? You better be listening, Molly.
She's pretty funny. Yeah, she's like a little black rescue that's like scruffy, and
Okay.
she looks like she's like been electrocuted half the
Is
time.
she on the rocks like social media?
She is. Yeah, she's in the article, the Where
Yes.
Women Create article, and she's been on the Instagram page a couple times, I think. Yeah, she's around.
So
She
go
goes
look.
with you to work.
She comes with me to
van.
work
Yeah.
sometimes. She doesn't really like driving in
She's
the
not
van.
crazy
she
about the
works
van.
herself into a bit of a frenzy.
Yeah,
so.
she can hear all the ice moving around when she stops the
Oh.
van and
Yeah,
sliding
she's
around.
like, no, I'm not happy about that. But yeah, I love hanging out with her. She's just so funny. She just like, you can see I'm smiling
Yeah.
like a maniac right now. She just cracks me up.
We should have brought her on the show. And
Oh,
given
we
her a
should
mic.
have brought her on the show.
Next
She
time, round 2. We'll do round
would
2.
have been, which would have, and then with our other friend here.
Yeah, off camera, off mic, we have Chloe holding it down in the background. She's
having
probably
a little
sleeping.
snooze,
Yeah.
but yeah, Molly would have just been
over
pestering
her.
Chloe.
Yeah.
Chloe would have been like, "Get this little dog out of here."
talking about on the rocks and talking about growth. What do you attribute the growth you have experienced? Is it just you're a very personal person? You seem like you're really easy to get along with. Obviously, you're probably really good at networking. Is that, or is it just people are now more willing and able to spend a few extra dollars on things like ice? Or is it the brand itself? It resonates with people more. It's like a sexy looking bag as opposed to your generic, like a polar bear with something else behind it. Like what is it? Can you pinpoint what you've done this year and then replicate it next year with a little bit of extra something else?
Yeah, and I hope so. I mean, I think it's a little bit of all of those things together. I think that we have had a really consistent client base since the company was started, and people that have stayed with us year over year every year, and they've taken on more business. So that's a part of it, is that they've taken on more, so we've been able to get more business from them because they've continued to use us. Last year I lost a few clients, and I was really upset about it, and I think I mentioned to this to you over the phone, and I totally take things like that to heart and take them so personally, and I shouldn't, but I do because I am an emotional person. I more often than not, I have my kind of emotional, I don't know, even know my emotional Devon hat on and not my, business, straightforward, fact-based hat on. And so I do take those things, to heart. And I kind of think like, what have I done? Have I done something wrong? Is it me? And even after asking people, like, did we not provide? Were we not on time? Like, was the product not okay? And people are saying like, yeah, you were great. And I'm saying, well, what happened, And who knows? I think sometimes it's about the money. Maybe someone can offer a lower price. And sometimes I don't even know. It's other factors come in.
Yeah, well, sometimes the job gets passed on to somebody else and they're not aware of.
Previous relationships.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much turnover
And it happens
too
so quickly, right?
in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see it all the time. I mean, people move around a lot, and the person that was maybe your contact the last 2 years all of a sudden isn't there, and you're chasing around trying to find the new person. And sometimes you just miss the opportunity because of that, or the new person doesn't know about you and they just go with somebody else. So stuff like that happens. But I will say that, we lost a couple and we gained a few more. And in some instances, we actually had some of the people we lost come back and say we shouldn't have left. And that's like, a little win for you. You're like, yes, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. And like, it wasn't me and it wasn't the product. And so that's, a little win and a little celebration. I do a little happy dance there of like, oh, thank goodness. But I think it's just a combination of all those things. I think clients gaining more of their own clients. And I definitely think this year, like, I really tried hard to, reach out to my clients really early on in the season and talk to everybody and really form a better game plan for the entire season this year. I think the more time I spend in this, the more I realize that not only do I need to be organized with myself in knowing my, schedule for the day or for the week or whatever, but also that I need to almost prompt my clients to have their own schedule for their ice. And, it is one of those things that a lot of people leave to the last minute. And sometimes they even forget about it until the day before their event. And they're calling you going, oh, crap, like, can you help me? But to just sort of suggest to them early on, like, hey, it's really nice when you can provide me a list of all the things that you're doing so I can schedule you into our calendar already. And we know it's in there. And then we know I can talk to you, this many days ahead of time, and you don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing for you to worry about, which is one less thing for me to worry about. It's going to make everybody happier. And I think that has attributed a little bit to it, is just, asking people to have a little bit more organization on their own side and to sort of think about what their year looks like in terms of ice. I think that's helped. And then, just other events that have come to the city. I mean, we've been really lucky this year that we've got some extra events that weren't here last year and they've showed up, and I've been really fortunate to either be able to work with some of the people previously and they've come back to me again, or I've gone out there and I've found the people and I've tried to have conversations with people and, promote the product, and they've, seen the benefit, and I've just been lucky enough to win them over. So
it reminded me when you started telling your story about like losing a few clients and gaining some. I had someone unsubscribe from my email list the other day, one person, and I literally I'm very emotional as well,
Yeah.
almost to a fault.
Yeah.
It serves me well at times, and at other times it is an absolute crutch for me. And I'm aware of that now, though. At 36, I can now say I'm aware of the pros and cons of being an absolute emotional softie. But I told my coach about it, and he's like, man, you need to like unsubscribe from like that setting on your, it doesn't serve you at all. And it's one person. It doesn't, not to say they don't matter, but it doesn't
define you. It doesn't define what you're doing.
It doesn't define your business as well. So
exactly.
Are you learning now? I mean, as you articulated it there, the way I interpret it was like, you understand that is just going to happen. There'll be certain things that are just out of your control, right? In this business, people choosing you and not choosing you. And there's no I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's no sense in you like chasing a price to the bottom and trying to beat
It's
someone
true.
out. It's just like, well, you know what? It's fine. Like I lost this one, but I'll probably get 2 more.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that attitude without being, too cocky and just being authentic and be like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I appreciate Doug. I appreciate the business. And
Yeah.
thanks so much for being a client for as long as you were. And if you ever need us
Exactly.
again, you know where to get a hold of me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I've sort of come to realize about this is like I have to know my worth, not only as a business, but as for myself, because I am this business. Like I have to know what I can run around doing or what my limits are and what my, the business limits are financially and my time constraints and all these things. And so I do have to, realize that sometimes people will call and they'll ask for something, and sometimes it's not within my reach to be able to give it to them. If it's so ridiculous, of a time frame that they're asking for it, or the price is just so low that we can't do it. I mean, I will try 100% if you have no money or you're, we work with a lot of charities and nonprofits. I mean, if you come to me and you say, I cannot afford this, but it's this amazing nonprofit, and is there anything you can do? Like, I will try 150% to help you. I will give you my time if I can for free. I will hoof it in there for you on a camel if I, like I will try my hardest, but I also have to recognize that sometimes it just can't work, and that is okay. And that is part of the whole process and part of the whole business as a whole, in that if it doesn't work this one time, like maybe that's because it has to benefit the rest of the business and the rest of the days and the time frame and all those other things. So sometimes you do just have to let go of certain things and realize, like, you know what, you can't have everything all the time 100% of the time. It doesn't always line up. But
I've been dying to ask you this since we hit go. What is the strangest ice request you have gotten, or has there been one? Are they all pretty run of
they're
the mill?
all pretty normal. I can't even think, like, have I ever had to deliver anything really, any ice anywhere weird? Not really. Like,
Or someone
it's all
like someone like
pretty
asked
normal.
for like a specific, like a shape, or
Yeah, we had to do so we do the bagged ice, and then we also do ice carvings.
Yes, I
so
saw
if
that.
you ever need an ice carving, you can give us a shout too, and ice luges and all those things. And then we do the specialty cubes. So those are like the 2-inch or the 1-inch spheres, the round spheres, or the squares. And then we've done like specialty heart cubes, and
Okay.
we freeze flowers in them and fruit, and like they're actually pretty beautiful.
They are.
So we do all those types of things, and we get a fair amount of requests for those. We had to do one for Caesar stone countertops.
Okay.
There was a design show a few months ago. I can't even remember. I think September, at the convention center, and they wanted this huge sphere for a display they did. I didn't get to the design show to see it, but I saw the pictures and it was pretty cool. And so we basically created them this giant, like 19-inch
Whoa.
sphere. So we had to fuse like a bunch of ice together and then create it into like 2 half circles basically, and then fuse those circles together for their display.
Logistically, what does that look like? Sorry, this is me just geeking out right now. I'm being
No, it's
totally
like-
greedy. What does that look like to get that into a space?
Yeah, I
Silly
mean, well,
question
you
without
can
melting.
picture how heavy they are,
Yeah.
right? Like those are heavy pieces, and then you basically have to get them into a space, which, I mean, they're easy enough to transport. It's ice, so
Right.
you,
Keep
as
it
long as you
cool.
have a reefrized vehicle, which we do, and then it goes into the space, and then you basically fuse them together. They're water, they start to melt, and you stick them together, and then that's kind of it. But I mean, you have to be able to carry it, and
So
it's-
who did it? I'm just intrigued. Like, who put it together? Like
so we have a guy that works for us.
Can we give him a shout
his
out?
name's Harold. Shout out Harold.
Shout out Harold. Harold did it by himself?
Yeah, he does the carvings for us.
Well done,
He's
Harold.
amazing.
Allison, did you want to pipe in on Harold?
Well, I was
feel like
just
you
wondering,
wanna-
does he do the same ones with the flowers in? The
Yep,
cubes
Harold
too?
does the
Yeah.
cubes
'Cause
for
I've
us
seen
too.
those. Those are beautiful.
What can't Harold do is a question.
I honestly don't think there's
Endless.
anything that Harold can't
Endless.
do.
Whatever you guys out there, whatever you guys are thinking crazy ideas with ice, doesn't matter. On the rocks, and Harold can do it.
So we'll try. Oh, actually, here's something that somebody asked for once. I'm just remembering this now. Somebody once asked for, I had a client who had a client.
Okay.
So the client's
Friend of a
client,
friend.
client's
Yeah.
client, friend of
Yeah.
a friend of an aunt,
Yeah.
asked for, they wanted some ice sculpture that was like, I don't know, like 20 feet tall.
Sure.
And they wanted, I can't even remember now because it was so bizarre, but something like they wanted there to be like an elevator or something like
Oh, okay.
inside it,
Something
or
mechanical.
like there's something inside to go up and down on the inside. And it was like we sat there for like weeks and weeks trying to think like, how is this going to work? How are we going to get something this high? Like, it's going to have to be so many pieces fused together, and like you're going to have a crane, and like the logistics behind it would have been insane. Price wise, would have been insane.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say,
and
sure.
we're coming back to them being like, well, do you have a budget? And they're like, well, we don't know. And we're like, well, how about we tell you it's gonna be $100,000, because like that's probably what it's gonna be.
I was gonna say $250,000, but hey, by any chance, does your husband do really good impersonations?
I don't think so.
Could it have been him just playing a joke on you? Because I think that'd be a great joke to play on Lindsay.
It's possible.
Be like,
It's possible. Yeah.
Hey, it's just calling for a elevator in a...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it probably was him. John, was that you?
Come on, John, quit playing games with our hearts. I digress. This is about fun. This is about business. I don't know if you listened to this podcast in its entirety before. We can go pretty long sometimes, upwards of like 90 minutes, depending on what we're talking about. But on each podcast, I ask 2 of the exact same questions to every single guest.
Okay.
And it's very much putting you on the spot. But you have your mom here, so I'm sure she'll help you out if you need it.
We'll see.
So the 2 questions I have for you, Devon, are this. It's first off, this show is called, as you know, the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast. So have for you the half a dozen have tos.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Yep.
So I need from you 1 to 6. So you can do 1 or you can do 6.
Okay.
Things that you have experienced in your life that you feel like our listeners have to do. Doesn't have to do with business or ice or anything, but whether it is walking on a beach with your dog if you have a dog, whether it is having dinner at a certain place or going to a concert or seeing a movie that you really like or looking at a piece of art that you love. So 1 to 6 things that you feel like our listeners have to do.
Should do in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I feel like your mom's got some swagger. I feel
Yeah,
like
she's got
a lot
maybe
of-
Allison's got some
Hey,
ideas
I've got
here.
age behind me
Do you?
here.
We could do this. We could do this.
We could alternate.
You could go 3 each. We have done that before
Oh.
with dual guests.
3
if you
things
wanted
that we have to have done.
no.
No,
Yeah,
that
so
we think people should do in their
yeah,
life.
but you have experienced them, right? And then you want other people to experience them. So like for me, for example, it'd be like I had a beautiful dinner in a small spot in Tuscany. Like that would be something that I would really like implore people. Go to Italy and eat Italian food
Yes.
in Tuscany, something
Yeah,
like that.
that's on my bucket list of places, things to
Oh,
go.
yes.
Okay, here's one. This is food related. I got married last was it only last
Uh-oh.
year? Yeah, it was only last year.
Last
Last year?
Okay,
Is
it's
it
20.
Yeah.
It's 2018 right now.
It was 2017,
Okay.
August of 2017.
Yes.
And we went to Mexico for our honeymoon, and we went to Tulum, and we ate at Heartwood in Tulum,
Okay.
which is, I don't know if you've ever heard of.
I've never been to
it.
Tulum. I've heard beautiful things about it, and I do want to go.
And Heartwood is
gorgeous.
a amazing restaurant in Tulum. It's all open air seating, and it's quaint, and it's
Very funky.
very cool, and it was some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. You have to make a reservation a month in advance. It can't be before that. And give them a call or email, and they will set you up with a table. But it was amazing. I don't even remember. We had like these sweet potatoes with this like brown sugar honey glaze on them that were like baked on top of like a charcoal fire.
Wow.
I can't even remember what else, like prawns, but it was just so good. So if you ever are in Tulum, go and eat at Heartwood. Delicious.
There, easy. That was one. That was easy.
There you go.
Allison,
Do you
over
have
to you.
one?
We're playing like have to
Oh,
tennis
amazing
here.
things that people should try. Oh gosh.
Just something you've done in your life that you feel like someone else
Oh,
should do, whether
well-
it is being an entrepreneur, whether it is having a child, whether it is coming onto a podcast in some stranger's home in Vancouver.
Well, I do love to travel. I don't travel as much as I'd like to, but I did love Italy. I think just traveling, everybody should travel if they can. If they have no money, whatever, they got to figure out how they can do it. in an inexpensive way or the best they can do. Go with a friend, but especially young people, I think it's the biggest education you can get is to travel and to see people, right?
Devon's helping her mom with the mic.
with the microphone as it's fading away here.
But you can hear the difference, right?
I'm near you. I'm not near you.
Yeah,
oh, right.
exactly.
Sorry. Now
I think like just to add on to your traveling, like going traveling if you're a young person, like going traveling, you know, before you get into your career, you know, or like I did that. I took some time off after high school. I mean, I worked for a bit and then I took some time off and went traveling with some of my girlfriends, and we went to England and France. And I mean, it was
didn't go for a long time.
No, and I should have now in hindsight. I wish I had gone longer. I have a nephew that just went away traveling for I think 3 months. He was gone and he went everywhere: Spain, Portugal, like Amsterdam.
I think kids should go for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hijack your have-tos, but I went right from high school to university, and then I moved overseas after that.
Yeah.
And I wish I did overseas first.
Yeah, I think part of your education when you finish your schooling, maybe even before you go to university,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You should take a year to 2 years off, and you should travel and you should work abroad.
Yeah,
because I think it's a fantastic education.
You learn so much about yourself as well.
You learn about people too.
True, yeah.
You know, when you're out of your comfort zone, and it's like, how do you manage in that, right? So I think that's really great. But traveling in general, and I loved Italy. I loved the small villages and just sitting and watching and getting to know people. And then
hey, come on in. No, come on in. Martin's home. Martin's been to Costco.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh.
Martin, say hi to Allison and her beautiful daughter Devon from On the Rocks.
Here comes the puppy.
Here comes Chloe. So we'll say that was 3 then. So we'll go back to you again, Allison, for another one.
Oh, sailing. Sailing was part of my life for a while there. And I think some of the best moments in my life have been sitting watching the sun go down on a sailboat. And I think that everybody should experience that.
Whereabouts?
Oh, in the islands here.
Okay.
We just, most
Are you guys a nautical family?
No, not me.
No.
Chloe, you can't go that way. There's cords
she's
and
getting
stuff.
Like, I'm trapped. Help me.
This is a first on the show, but I actually like it. This is like chaotic, but it's amazing.
She's adding to the show. We've got a dog. She's trying to crawl across the cords.
If you're listening
Jesus, she made it.
if you're listening on iTunes, go over to YouTube and just check out what we just dealt with somehow very smoothly. I think.
I know.
She made it through.
She's going to take a few things off.
No dogs were harmed.
Yeah, and Martin's being very shy.
Okay, so on to you now, Devon.
What did you say?
So sailing,
right?
Sailing was pretty cool.
You know what? I think that my other, place to recharge, you mentioned that earlier, is Salt Spring Island.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have a family cabin there. My dad's side of the family, we have a little tiny cabin, and I've been going there since I was a little baby. And then my husband and his family also have a cabin, and they are 5 houses apart from each other.
Did you guys like hang out when you were toddlers?
No, we did not.
No, it was a very strange
super
story.
weird, super coincidental. Like,
that's cool.
It's sort of roundabout how we met, but not really. Also,
yeah.
So we're just it's a little bit weird and bizarre, but
Very
cool. I love Salt Spring. Because I've been going there my whole life and swimming in the ocean.
We have a place over there too.
And now my mom's partner, he has a home over there. So between our family, there's 3 different places.
We can't get
a
away
little
from
excessive.
No, Martin, we should buy a place in Salt Spring together.
Well,
you should.
Fabulous over there.
If you're not, sorry, I just want to say quickly, if you guys are listening to this and you're not local, I suggest you go onto Google, type in Salt Spring Island, and just check out the images. It is stunning. We are so blessed in this province to have beautiful spots like Salt Spring.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be emailing you guys saying, hey, what are you doing this weekend this summer?
I'm coming over.
Well, we could probably accommodate you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say get to a Gulf island. Like if it's not Salt Spring, get to one of the Gulf islands just for a little getaway.
I like it.
Yeah.
Back
Definitely.
to you for number 5. No.
Oh,
yeah. 5.
Gosh. Other amazing things. I loved starting my business. I think that was an amazing thing.
Yeah.
That
what was
really
it called?
Did well. It was just my name, Allison Brody Designs.
Cool.
Yeah. But then now that I've given up 30 years of running my display business and did very well at it, then now I'm concentrating on my painting, which I've always wanted to do. So
nice.
I'm painting. I'm in a couple galleries and selling really well, and loving that.
Can we promote your mom on the show? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
So-
at Maddox Gallery at
The
Maddox Farm.
gallery at Maddox Farm in Victoria, and also at the Salt Spring Island Gallery Co-op in on McPhillips on Salt Spring.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe Vancouver. I'd love to get my work over in Vancouver. I just haven't made any moves to do that. I'm sort of concentrating on growing in the area that I want to grow in. So I'm sort of gotten into a lot of abstracts. And
Oh, okay. I feel like your daughter has a lot of contacts in the city, and listeners on the show perhaps could help
be
you
a little
out.
dicey getting in here. There's so many artists, but
Hey,
There's
well,
always
come
room
on,
for more.
Mom.
There's always room
but
for more.
I think my work would be
I think it would be very Vancouver.
Yeah,
I
agree.
think so. I think I
Appropriate.
could see it in a lot of condos.
Perhaps we can put an image in the show notes on this podcast so
We
listeners
could,
can go and
yeah.
see what Allison is creating.
Yeah, we can link to her
Yeah, we
That would be
Instagram
fun.
page
Cross
too.
promote. We can do that.
could
Totally.
very-
Back to you, Devon, for your
Okay,
last one.
last one. Gosh, I don't know. I think not something, well, I guess sort of something I've done. I think I would just say if there's something that you have a passion about or you're not happy doing what you're doing right now, and you have an idea or you've talked with one of your friends about something that you really like doing, or there's something like that, there's something else in your heart and in your head that is more exciting to you than what you're doing, I think I would just say like find that thing and try it. You know, maybe just try it on the side for a while and see how it goes and see if you actually do like doing it. But I think like for me, if I hadn't, you know, said sort of like, you know, F it and like, let's see what happens, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today and I wouldn't have had this opportunity and I wouldn't be, you know, doing the flexibility and being able to do things in my day to day, and I wouldn't be hanging out here on your couch. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I mean, that's maybe a bit of a weird one just to say like, go and do the thing, you know, that makes
No,
you happy.
not
But
at
I
all.
think there's so many things, and I always not argue with my husband, but we've had this conversation many times before where I have said to him before this, certainly, you know, I want to like what I do and I want to be happy in my job and I want to enjoy going to work. And he, you know, has said to me like, well, I don't think that everybody feels that way, or I think that a lot of people don't like their job. And I'm like, that's freaking crazy. Like you
Yeah.
should like your job.
We should definitely have dinner together with, I feel like John is like Lindsay, my
Okay,
partner.
yeah.
And you and I are like
We're
very
like
similar.
free spirited. We're like, yeah, just do your thing
Yeah.
and be happy.
Lindsay's
and-
very pragmatic, and which is great. She has her own business as well. She's a bookkeeper, so we'll
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
that
see?
later. But yeah, so I'm like the dreamer,
Yeah.
and like, oh, you should love what you do, and and sometimes that challenges her and other people. My friend
It is
Warren,
hard.
shout out Warren, he's so challenged by that. He doesn't believe it, but I say,
I think you can. I mean,
I think you have to work towards it.
Yeah, you have to work
if
towards
it's
it.
what you really want in yourself, I think you have to do that. I mean, when I started out, when I was young, I did secretarial work. I was over here
Yeah.
in Vancouver working for Wellwood of Canada down on the water there, and you know, because Devon's dad at the time was going to school, so I had to
yeah, you
to
had
do
you
all
had
that
to
stuff,
do it, right?
And you know, you did it, and you took out of that things you enjoyed about that, the people and everything else. But you know, eventually I got to where I wanted to be and started, you know, getting into the display business and then having my own business. And I think once you have your own business, you just never go back. I mean,
It's very difficult.
difficult. to
yeah.
work
And
for
I can't
somebody
picture
else.
that now. Like,
Yeah,
you know, she's always saying like, do you think that you did the right thing? Or do you think that you like it?
Hell
and I'm always
yeah.
like, I don't know what I would do. What else I would do?
Yeah.
Like she's like, well, what would you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I could sit behind a desk
Yeah.
anymore from 9 until 5. And like,
Nothing wrong
I
with
think I
that,
go-
but
no,
just for you
no.
personally,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
definitely not. And
Yeah.
like, shout out to all the people that do
Yeah,
that
totally.
because that's amazing. And I did that. I mean, I did that and I liked it when I did it. But now that I've tasted the other side,
No going back.
like I
Yeah.
can't imagine doing that again. So
And some people, they're very comfortable in that environment where they don't want to work for themselves because it is a lot of hard work. And it's a job that never seems to end because it's always on your mind, and you're probably doing your work on the weekends and at nighttime and
there's-
everything else, right?
Yeah.
There's no Monday to Friday. There's no 9 to
No.
5. It's 7
No.
days a week. It's answering your phone late at night. It's all
yeah,
those
and
things.
it does take up like that extra space in your brain where, you know, the thing that I am jealous about for people that do have a 9 to 5 job is that a lot of times you can put your job away at the end of the day. You pack it in your desk and you leave it behind at work. Can't do that. I come home at 5 o'clock, like maybe my phone, you know, goes, you know, onto the do not disturb mode or something like that. But doesn't mean that people can't still leave me messages that I'm listening to an hour later, or that people aren't still emailing me and,
Right.
you know, or that I'm not still thinking about the money or the check I didn't deposit or, you know, the bill I have to pay. Like, it still consumes you even when you're not
Your
Yeah.
truck
at
broke
your
down.
desk or in your
Yeah.
truck, you know? So
The last question I have for you, same theme ish. It's the half a dozen haven't yet. So you mentioned
Oh.
earlier like a bucket list. So
Yeah.
this is kind of a bucket list question. So we'll go very quickly back and forth between Devon and Allison. What would be 3 things from each of you that you haven't experienced yet that you want to experience? We'll start with Mom first.
Well, I think just more traveling. I mean, I haven't been to Greece. We want to go to Portugal, so definitely more traveling. Those are things I haven't tried. I'm not going to say jumping out of a plane or anything like that.
No,
There's
okay.
no way I
we'll
want to
come.
do
We'll
that.
come back for your number 2, Devon.
I think bucket list for me, I think number 1 is just to expand the company and see what the future holds for On the Rocks. You know, I sort of mentioned quickly, like this year has been a huge year for me and the business has grown way more than I even expected it to. And it was a bit of a surprise. And so I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen next year. And I hope that I can do equally as well, if not better again. And it's going to be hard because I feel like I've now set this precedent for where I need to be at. And I'm like already thinking, oh crap, like how am I going to get there? How am I going to get even better than that next year, you know? And so I think for me, just like expanding and seeing how I can make this business better.
Yeah.
Back
And
to
for
you,
me-
Mom.
Well, I guess I'm going in the same direction, but in a completely different sort of venue here because I want to expand what I'm doing. So this year for me is all about also making commitments to myself and not taking on another gallery at the moment and just expanding my work and seeing where it takes me, experimenting and improving and all that sort of thing. And then the following year, maybe then. So I'm setting goals and that's where I'm going also. Even though I'm retired.
I know she's like
Yeah.
the busiest retired
Yeah.
person
I know
I've
I'm
ever
a very
met.
busy
Good
person.
for you,
Yeah,
as
I
you
just-
should be.
Yeah, it's a crazy busy world we have.
Yeah.
My partner Glenn and I, but it's all good. Like
Good.
it's all positive.
I like that. Back
Yeah.
to you, Devon.
You know, I think something that has just sort of popped up in the last little bit here and there, and I think you said it to me when I spoke to you on the phone, is you said you should write a book. And I think I've always in the back of my head thought it'd be super cool to write a book, whether it was a book about me or like a children's book, I think would be really cool. And then you said it to me and I was like, whoa, I think I've always sort of thought about that, but never really thought about it. And then I was speaking to somebody else who had a podcast, and one of the people on their podcast has an agency here who helps people write books.
How serendipitous.
And I was like, oh my goodness. So maybe that might be on the bucket list someday.
okay. Back to you, Mom, for your last one.
Gosh.
You're not jumping out of a plane. We've already established
No,
that.
I'm not doing anything crazy like that because now I think, oh, I don't want to do that. That could be like I'm not going to take up skiing because
Okay.
I don't want to hurt myself at this age.
You seem to be in pretty good shape. You seem to be doing all right for yourself.
well, you still got to be a little bit careful.
Right.
Still have fun, but a little bit careful.
Yes.
But, I don't know what else I'm thinking I want to do.
Is there a meal you haven't had that you've heard of?
Meal?
Or is
I'm a
there-
huge foodie person, and I
Okay.
love to cook.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a partner that doesn't like to eat, so it's
Oh
a
wow!
little
I feel like
traumatic
I feel
for
like I
me.
should move in.
It's
I'll
very
take care of
traumatic
that.
for me. So I feed the world. I feed all my friends.
Oh,
I'm
good.
constantly making soup and giving it to people. And have you tried this? And yeah, I love all that stuff. So
Yeah, I'm hungry now.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'd like to try more restaurants abroad.
Anyone come top of your mind or no? Anything here locally in Vancouver that we can kind of shout out that you've heard of?
No,
Or
I don't get out in Vancouver and eat that much. We eat a lot of sushi, don't we, Devon?
We always go to
I
for
love that
Indian
sushi
food when
place.
Mom's here because she loves Indian
okay.
food.
I
So
love
we
Indian
always
food
usually
too.
end up at Rangoli at some point when we're
okay.
over here.
But
But
what's the
don't
sushi
know.
place that we go to?
I don't even know what it's
right
called.
in, is it in
She loves the
Dunbar?
sushi. She's
The
like
sushi
she
is just
loses
gigantic.
it over the sushi.
Yeah, I could almost live on sushi.
You know what we'll do? And mark my word, we're going to do this. The three of us, leave Glenn at home, leave John at home, I'll leave Lindsay at home. We're going to go up the street. Martin, you can come with us.
Okay.
Masa Yoshi.
I haven't been there
Neither
yet
have I.
on Fraser.
Oh.
So we should go in the new year.
Yummy.
So I'm going to hold myself accountable to it. I'm going to send you guys some dates. We're going to go.
Amazing.
We're going to get dressed up. I'm going to wear a collared shirt and we're going to go have sushi. We'll make
I've
sure-
heard
Okay.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
and give me
experience.
lots of warning because I'll either be Victoria or Salt Spring.
We'll make sure we'll fly you over on the rocks plane.
Oh my god.
On the rocks
that would be
plane.
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Woo, there's a goal.
Yeah. Last one for you, Devon. Last haven't yet.
Oh gosh, last haven't yet.
You don't have to have one, by the way.
You know what? I think one having yet that is not related to the business in any way would be to buy a house.
Yeah, cool. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be related to the business. This could be
No.
like far-fetched as you
This
want.
is and God knows when it will happen, but at some point, I mean, we've just moved into this house. We are totally in love with it. We're just renting.
Right.
And that totally works for us and it's great. And we don't have to worry about the responsibilities of fixing up a house. But
Yeah.
I think one day, to be able to own a house in Vancouver and just have a piece of property that's your own and
Heck yeah.
not have to be accountable to anybody else.
Mhm.
And be able to do anything you want to it and put
Yeah.
anything wherever you want and smash as many holes in the wall and not have to worry, not that I want to
Well, so
do it.
maybe
but
my last thing would be that I want to help Devon buy a house. So
Oh, cool.
you know,
Hey.
yeah, maybe I'll.
Are you
I'll have
looking at
some money.
adopting any like
I don't know.
36-year-old men
I
as
buy
your
a lot
children?
of lottery tickets. Right?
Okay, good to know. Hey,
Yeah.
good to know. Allison, hey, you guys, follow Allison on social media. Become her friend. She's gonna win the lottery, and then we'll all be
You never
sorted.
know.
You never know.
You never
know.
You got to
My-
buy the tickets though.
My mother always says, I don't know if this is an East Coast thing or not, but she says, "No ticket, no laundry."
Yeah,
Is that a
I
thing?
like buying the tickets.
I've
I
never
buy the
heard
tickets.
that,
No?
but I like it.
Yeah, no ticket, no laundry.
Buy
You
the
can't-
tickets and then I don't look at them for a while and I don't even
Oh,
check them.
gosh.
And then I just
That would
daydream
stress
about
me out.
what I would do.
Oh, that would stress me
So
out.
I'm getting my money's worth in daydreams, right?
Oh, okay. That would probably give me an ulcer, but okay.
There you go, guys. You don't really need to win. You can just daydream,
Daydream
about
about
winning.
it.
If I did win, yes.
I want to take a moment to celebrate you, Devon, individually, but both you, Devon, and Allison. One, it's been so cool to have you guys both on the show. Very unique for me.
Thank you.
This isn't a family show, quote unquote. This isn't like we bring on brothers and sisters and daughters and fathers and mothers and daughters or whatever the situation may be. But I feel very lucky and blessed that this happened today. So thank you, Devon, for sharing the limelight with your mom today.
Yeah.
And thank you, Allison, for coming on the show and being so willing and able to share your story. It was
thanks.
so nice.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been so nice to hear you as well, kind of speak from your situation, watching your daughter grow into what she is now, this very successful entrepreneur. She's married to a lovely man and has a home, all these things. Like, I can only imagine the pride you do take, which you did mention, in watching her grow. And I hope for me that I can then witness that with my daughter someday
Yeah,
as well.
it's. I think more than anything, as a parent, you just want them to be really happy. You want
Yeah.
them to be happy
and healthy.
good people.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
She is.
Yeah, she's great. And Devon, I want to say, I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Meeting you now and spending the last 1 hour and 12 minutes and 40 seconds with you, I'm super excited by just knowing you now, and I feel very lucky knowing you, and I consider you a friend now.
Thank you.
And I'm also super excited to see you grow with your brand. I will do whatever I can on the show, and all my listeners will do whatever we can to support you
Amazing.
and this venture. So you may not know it, but you coming on the show and you sharing your story and you do what you do inspires people like me and many, many people that are listening. Maybe something you said today will click with someone, and maybe they'll
Yeah.
go and chase whatever it is that they want
Yeah,
to.
That's neat.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be, like you said, you don't really love ice, but there are many, many attributes about what you do that you do love.
Definitely.
So find that, guys. Find that something that you can really dig into and love. And I feel like if you do that, you'll be successful just as Devon is today. So congratulations on the success that you have experienced. And like I said, I look forward to watching your success throughout the years as well. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank
Well
you so
done.
much. Thanks for having us.
Before I let you go, ladies, I want to know how best our listeners can connect with you, Devon, and On the Rocks. How best can
Yeah.
they reach out?
I think the easiest way is we're online, obviously. So you can head to our website. It's ontherocksice.com. And you'll find all the information on there. We've got our email on there, our phone numbers on there. So you can give me a shout directly or send me an email. If you want to just order from us, there's an order page on there. So you can just plot in all your information and I'll get a notification about that. We're on Instagram too. So if you want to check me out on there, you can. I think it's On the Rocks Ice. Is our handle. Or my personal page is Devon Dooling. So you can always send me a message on there if you want to chat about anything or have any questions. And yeah, if you need any sculptures or
20-foot
ice,
things with
20-foot elevators
Yeah.
and, or an elephant carved out of ice or
Or a 19-inch sphere.
yeah. Or you're just having a big party, give me a shout and we'll see what we can do.
And I bet they can do it because it sounds like there isn't much that she won't do. So thank you
Yes.
again so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story and being so candid and authentic.
Yeah,
I really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that. I want to thank you guys for tuning in as you do week after week. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode. And until then, guys, be good and do good. That's it. We did it.
Woohoo!
Well done.
Brad.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, Martin.
Thanks, Martin.